Alright everybody, I am back with the card review for the Ashes of Outland, the expansion that's coming out very soon. I've had to really rush to make sure these videos come out on time because I kind of put a lot on my plate. Rather than just doing it all at once, I kind of just like separated all the videos class by class, which I don't know if it was a really good idea. Maybe if I started a little bit earlier, maybe that would have been a bit more helpful, but no, I'm here now. I'm going to go through all of the commons. So all the neutral commons, the ones we haven't looked at, and again I'm going to be rating them 1 out of 5 stars, 1 star being and 5 stars being whoop. I have no idea what that was. Anyway, let's get to it. Okay, so the first card that we are looking at is a 4 mana 3/3 called Rustworn Cultist. So it's a common and battle cry. Give your other minions Death Rattle, summon a 1/1 demon. Now, first things I'm looking at is the stats. So I don't like the fact that it's a 4 mana 3/3. I think it's incredibly understated. Like, I don't even want to play 3 mana for a card like that. It gives your other minions Death Rattle, summon a 1/1 demon. So obviously in some classes this will be better than others. So if you're like a swarmy type class like Paladin, then great, this will probably work out a little bit better. But if you're, I don't know, Druid, then obviously it's not going to be the greatest. Obviously I'm forgetting about Token Druid. I was trying to think of a class that's slow. Priest. If it's Priest, then obviously it's not that great. I don't know, I think it's very situational because it also requires you to have a board. You're not always going to have a board. So I'm going to give it a 2. I think it's really slow and I'm just not particularly happy with it. The next card we have is a 1 mana 2/1 called Everal or Merchants. Yep. Smash that. So it's battle cry, deal 1 damage to a minion and give it +1 spell damage. I'm not particularly, it's okay. It's a 1 mana 2/1, so you could just play on turn 1. The stats are okay. Deal 1 damage, so technically it is a ping. So you can actually use this. See, this is better than it gives off because it's 1 mana, give a ping. So it's kind of like an Elven Archer, and I honestly see nothing wrong with Elven Archer. And you could also synergize it with your own minions as well. So you have a minion that has more than 1 health, you can like ping it away and then cast some spells for that extra damage. I actually think this is incredibly good, especially if you're like playing mage. Imagine if you had like 8 mana and your opponent's board has like 5 health and you have a minion on board. You can ping this and you can play that Flame Strike for 5 damage and it clears your opponent's board. That's 1 out of so many scenarios. But I think this is actually incredibly good. I like a ping in Arena. Any ping at all. So that's why I'm going to give this a 4 stars. I think this is incredibly solid. The next card we have is a 1 mana 2/1 called Rocket Orc Merchant. So battle cry, deal 1 damage to a minion and give it Rush. Now again, I really like this. It's a ping if you need it to, but you can also give a minion Rush, and we all know how good that Lackey is when we need it. Yeah, and again, it's still another minion you can just play on turn 1. You probably won't. I think this card is more a case of trading just a little bit better. The only downside of it is the fact that it does actually reduce your minion's health by 1. So maybe it could end up actually killing your minion. But I think it gives you a great way to actually trade off. It gives you a little bit more control, which is something I incredibly like. I'm going to give this a 4-star rating again. I think this is a really solid card and I think it's definitely worth picking because I think this could get you ahead. And the next card we have is a 1 mana 1/4 called Soulbound Ashton. So whenever this minion takes damage, also deal that amount to your hero. So obviously the stats are kinda good. I think if it was a 2/4 then it would definitely be worth picking, but I don't know, as a 1/4 I'm not an incredible fan of it. I think it's just going to be 1 mana, deal 4 damage to your face, because I think a lot of the times your opponent is going to be able to get rid of it. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of this. I think it's just a 2-star. Like, I understand obviously stat-wise it is incredible, but even if but it doesn't even trade against many like 2 mana minions. because you have like 3 2s, 2 3s. So, nah. And the thing is, your opponent's also not always going to have a 1 mana minion to trade into. So yeah, it's just not that great. The next one we have is a 2 mana 2/2 called Rustworn Initiative. So this one has a Death Rattle, summon a 1/1 Imcaster with spell damage +1. Looking at it the way it is, yeah, obviously it has Death Rattle, so I guess that's okay. I don't like playing 2 mana for a 2/2, and I don't like having to rely on Death Rattle for stats. I don't know, it's just not my thing. I think this may be a 2. I just don't like it. I really don't. Like, obviously you're getting 3/3 in stats eventually, but it's not all in one turn. Like, it's hidden. You have to pop it open, and it's just, I think it's very easily removable. And the next card we have is a 3 mana 4/3 called Frozen Shadow Weaver. So the battle cry is freeze an enemy. This is actually incredibly good because it allows you to trade however you want, and it's a 3 mana 4/3. I like 3 mana 4/3s. They trade into pretty much any other 3-drop you can think of. And this means you can freeze your enemy's face. Say you have a warrior that's just pinging everything away with his weapons, and you want to stop that type of control from happening, and you want to be able to trade into the minions he has on his board. Great. It also gives you a way to trade into the minion you want to, so you can like freeze one, so you can deal with another. I think it's, even if you just play it on an empty board, it's still a 3 mana 4/3. I think it's still really, really good, and that's why I'm going to give it 4 stars. The next card we have is called Terror Guard Escapee. So it's a 3 mana 3/7, and the battle cry is summon 3 1/1 huntresses for your opponent, and the huntress looks like this. She's quite cool, actually. I don't see any downside to this. Yeah, obviously you're giving your opponent 3 1/1s. So what? It's still a 3 mana 3/7. They still need 4 extra damage to deal with it. I love it. Obviously in certain classes like this would be a bit it can go against your favor, but I think it's still really strong. I'm gonna give it a 3. I think it's almost at a 4, but I don't like the fact that you're allowing your opponent to swarm. Like, you are swarming your opponent's board, which means they could do stuff with that. So, but yeah, I think this is definitely still a pick though, if you ever struggling. The next card we have is a 4 mana 5/2 called Burrowing Scorpids. The battle cry is deal 2 damage. If that kills the target, gains stealth. Okay, that's very interesting. So you can deal 2 damage with it, and you can target it as well, which is very important. It's kind of like a phoenix. And if it actually does manage to kill the minion, then you can stealth it, which means your opponent can't really deal with it unless they have AoE. I quite like it. I like any target removal in Arena, especially if it's attached to a minion, because obviously you're developing a board at the same time. For me, this is a 4-star card again. I think it's pretty strong. Obviously it only has 2 health, so obviously it can easily die to any form of AoE, but yeah, I quite like it. I think it's a really good card. The next one we have is a 4 mana 3/3, so it's called Disguised Wanderer. So it has a Death Rattle, summon a 9/1 Inquisitor. I've seen this card before, and again, I don't like paying 4 mana for 3/3 in stats. And again, the Death Rattle is pretty bad. It might as well just be a 1/1 because it's always going to get pinged off. And we're getting quite a few commons where we can just ping minions and just kill them really efficiently. Now, there's just so many ways to go about it. Obviously, it's a little bit harder for classes that may not be offered those type of cards, but I think it's still pretty bad. I guess 2 stars. I don't want to say 1 because obviously I think there could be scenarios where you play this late game against, let's say, warrior or shaman, and they've cycled through all of their cards, and they just can't find anything, and then they have a 9/1 to deal with, and they just can't deal with it because obviously they can't take it away with the hero power. So yeah, that's the only scenario I can imagine this card actually working, but apart from that, the 9/1's going to die all of the time. The next one we have is a 4-mana 4/4 called Selfin Navigator. So his battle cry is give your other Murlocs +1/+1. So he's a 4-mana 4/4, so he's just a little understated for a Yeti, but he kills off a 3/5 if you have a ping, and he kills off pretty much any free drop, but dies to a lot of them as well. The likelihood of you having Murlocs in Arena, to be honest, does happen. It doesn't happen loads though, and the fact that the chances of you actually drawing that Murloc, playing that Murloc, and then playing this to buff those Murlocs, again, very unlikely. But it could be a really fun card to get off Fish Flinger, I think. I don't think it's great, but I don't think it's actually bad either. I guess it's a 4/4 you just pick if you have no choice. That's why I'm just going to get it for free. I don't think it's great. The next card we have is a 6-mana 5/6, and the death rattle is summon a 3/4 Dragonrider. It's called Dragonmore Sky Stalker. Okay. I quite like this. So it has Pit Fighter stats, but obviously it's 6 mana instead. Which obviously is not something you really want to do, because I think it's easily tradable. Like, I think 6-mana cards have a very easy time trading off against it, but I quite like the fact that it also gives you a 3/4 as well. Again, I think this is just a 3-star card. I think it's okay. I think it'll help you out in certain scenarios, but I don't think it's incredibly strong. I think there are a lot of other cards you can pick over this that could be so much better. The next card we have is a 6-mana 6/3 called Scavenging Shamwari. The battle cry is deal 6 damage randomly split among all other minions. Now, all other minions, so this does include your own minions, and it only has 3 health. Right. I hate it. Obviously, if you have no minions and your opponent has a minion, then it's a clear. It is a clear. But if you're ahead, you still have to get through something. I absolutely hate it. I don't like it. It dies right away. It only has 3 health. I'm going to give it a 2-star because I don't think it's always going to be awful. Again, like the first scenario, if your opponent has a board and you don't, cool. But if you have a board, then it's just... The next card we have is a 7-mana 4/10 taunt called Bonjour Vanguard. So this is a taunt, and whenever this minion takes damage, gain +2 attack. I quite like that because the thing is, when you have a minion with that amount of health, it is always going to get plus attack. Unless you have like a 10 attack minion on board by turn 7, which I really, really doubt. This actually trades away against a lot of minions. I think it's really difficult to get rid of. If anything, like, there is a card I've been picking in Arena recently, which is a 7-mana 5/9 called Furious Setting, which I still think is actually okay to pick. This is actually better, because not only does he have 1 more health, but he's just going to keep getting plus attack every time he is damaged. To me, this is a 4-star card. I actually think it's pretty good. The only reason it's not higher is because obviously it's 7 mana, it's a little bit slow, but it is really hard to remove. I think your opponent will struggle a lot getting rid of it. The next card we have is a 5-mana 1/8. It's called Rusty Drader. It has Taunt and Rush, and the battle cry is gain +4 attack this turn. Now this card reminds me of that. There is a card that is reminding me of. It's that warrior card that has Rush and it gains +3 attack and that is always played. Like, it is actually really good. I guess I don't like the fact that it goes back to 1 attack afterwards, so I guess it's not the greatest. But for 5 mana, like on the turn you're playing it, it's like a 5/8, so you can pretty much trade into like any 4-drop your opponent's played. It may even trade into 5-drops as well, which actually make... I think it's worth picking just as a removal. I think it's definitely worth it. It's just the turn after, it just seems pretty useless. I think that's why I'm going to give it a 3. I think it's worth picking as removal, but I don't think it's going to be great afterwards. The next card we have is a 2 mana 2/3 taunt called Bonjour Brawler. Whenever this minion takes damage, gain +2 attack. Now there is another card exactly like this, but for 3 mana instead, that never really sees play. I guess this for 2 mana is actually a little bit better, but I don't. It's okay. Sorry, I kind of just paused there, like, it's okay. I'm just going to give this a 3 because it's a 2 mana 2/3 most of the time. I think a lot of the times it is just going to die. The chances of it always getting that +2 attack is not always going to happen. It's quite nice though, that's why it's just a 3-star card. The next one we have is a 3 mana 1/6 overconfident orc. Taunt, and when it's at full health it has +2 attack. Interesting. So it can be a 3/6, but I think this is very easy to play around. Like if you have hero power, like where you can just ping 1 damage, or you already have like a 1 mana minion on board, then this is actually 1 mana minion, sorry, like a 1/1 on board. This would be very easy to trade against, but I guess if you're playing it against classes that are a little bit slow, like Priest for example, I think Priest would have a little bit more difficulty trying to get rid of something like this unless they had like a pain. It's okay. It's not great. Again, I don't like the fact that you can't actually control when it has the attack. Obviously on your turn you can, but on your opponent's turn when they trade into it, I don't think you have much leeway with that. I think it's a, I wish I could do like 2.5, but I think it's just a 2. I don't think I'd actually pick this in arena, to be perfectly honest. The next card I have is a 1 mana 2/1 called Guardian Orc Merchant. Now this is a card I'm super looking forward to, and I'm just going to give it 5 stars off the bat. Again, it deals 1 damage to a minion, so it's a 1 mana ping, which I absolutely love, but it allows you to have efficient trading because it gives your minions divine shield. So if you pinged your minion, you can trade anything off with the divine shield. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I love cards like these. Obviously the downside is dealing 1 damage, but a lot of the times, like if you're given a minion divine shield, then that means that minion's probably a really good minion, and it definitely has more than 1 health. So I think it's definitely worth picking in arena, 100%. The next card we have is an 8 mana 12/12, and it's called Supreme Abyssal, and it can't attack heroes. I saw this before, and I guess it's okay in arena, because obviously in arena it's all about control, and this just trades away all of the really big stuff. And considering all of the stuff that I've seen about to be released, I think this is actually really okay. It's quite difficult because it trades against a lot of the stuff that we're going to have a lot of trouble removing. I think this is actually worth picking in arena because I think it's a great way of getting rid of the board. Obviously the downside is the fact that you can't hit your opponent's face, which feels incredibly bad because I am a small-like character myself. But hey, if you manage to draft a Silence, or if you somehow manage to draft a Highlander Zephyrus arena deck, because that seems to happen a lot recently, you could end up getting a Silence of Zephyrus. I think it's really solid. I think it's 4 stars. I think it gives you great ways to trade off minions, and it's just a really big body. And the last card we have is a 2 mana 3/5 rush that we've already discussed in my last video, so I won't go through that. If I remember correctly though, I think I just gave it 3 stars if you don't want to go back to that video. But anyway, that is all of the cards. I'm going to be looking at the rares next. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye.